Waiver wire winners for fantasy football heading into championship week. Not sure Tyler Algier is just a handcuff at this point. 15 touches in week 15, then 10 in week 16 with 69 rushing yards and a touchdown. There's some managers that just need running backs touching the ball right now. Khalil Herbert for the Bears rushed 20 times for 112 yards and a touchdown, scored 19.1 fantasy points in week 16. 21-12 touches in favor of Herbert over Roschon Johnson with Deonta Foreman out. DJ Chark caught 6 of his 8 targets for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns for 27.8 fantasy points. Chark has been quiet this year, but he's had 7 weeks of 14-plus yards per reception, which shows that upside. And maybe he earned a bigger role heading into week 17. In 3 out of 4 of Jake Browning's last games, he's been a top 8 fantasy football quarterback. 3 of those 4 games, Browning has finished with 324-plus passing yards. Through 6 games played, Browning has 8 passing and 2 rushing touchdowns and faces Kansas City in Week 17. The rookie, Dontavian Wicks, unfortunately had to exit Week 16 with what is labeled a chest injury. He did make a big 21-yard touchdown catch. Back in Week 15, he caught 6 of his 7 targets for 97 yards. He had 6 targets in the game prior to that. So if healthy, Wicks has a good role in Green Bay. How about the veteran Joe Flacco, QB 13, QB 10, QB 9, and QB 1 in his 4 starts this season? 3 games in a row over 300 passing yards, 10 passing touchdowns across the last 4 weeks. He does have a tough Jets matchup in Week 17, but no one's been hotter. Check to see if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is available in your league. Week 15, he had 17 touches for 101 scrimmage yards, a receiving touchdown, and 20.1 fantasy points. Then in Week 16, with Isaiah Pacheco back, he caught 3 passes for 42 yards. But Pacheco left this game after suffering a concussion, and we have Jerick McKinnon on the IR. There's a chance CEH is the lead running back in Week 17 versus the Bengals. He's heavier rostered, but I thought I'd include Joshua Palmer just in case he's available. In Week 15, he caught 4 passes for 113 receiving yards and a touchdown, 21.3 fantasy points. Then in Week 16, he caught 5 of 8 targets for 47 yards. Demarcus Robinson for the Rams has quietly been a solid flex play for 4 weeks now in a row. 15.5, 13.6, 14.7, and 20.2 fantasy scores. Robinson has scored a touchdown in 4 straight games. And he had a season-high 82 receiving yards in Week 16 with Tutu Atwell back. Zamir White has started the last 2 weeks with Josh Jacobs out. In those 2 games, he scored 17.5 and 14.5 fantasy points. In Week 15, White rushed for 69 yards and a touchdown and caught 3 passes. Then in Week 16, he rushed for 145 rushing yards. He's been a good plug-and-play running back, but more so dependent if Josh Jacobs remains out. Another quarterback is Nick Mullins. He's been the quarterback 11 in back-to-back weeks, 303 and 411 passing yards in these 2 games, 4 touchdowns but 6 interceptions. Mullins gets Green Bay in Week 17, but he's been a solid streamer. Demario Douglas, the rookie for the Patriots, caught 5 of his 8 targets for 74 receiving yards in Week 16. This was the 6th time Douglas has earned 7-plus targets this season, so he's had consistent volume. Week 16 was also the 5th double-digit fantasy score for the rookie. Rashid Shaheed caught 5 of his 9 targets for 70 receiving yards and a touchdown, 18.4 fantasy points. Week 16 was the 4th week of 18-plus fantasy points for Shaheed this season, and the 6th week of 14-plus yards per reception. Darius Slayton caught 3 passes for 90 yards and a touchdown, 18 fantasy points in Week 16. Slayton had 63 receiving yards and 8 targets in the week prior. This was the 5th week over 60 receiving yards for Slayton this season. Jamison Williams has caught 9 passes for 90 yards on 13 targets the last 2 weeks. He's been much more involved in the Detroit offense as a former first-round pick with an explosive profile. Jamo's had 3 weeks over 22 yards per reception this season, so that's what he brings, and now he's getting more targets. Tyjae Spears, the rookie, finished his 5th week with double-digit fantasy points. He has standalone value even with Derrick Henry healthy. 5 receptions in Week 16 marks the 7th time this season that Spears has had 4-plus receptions. So Chris Rodriguez was seen wearing a boot, so we have to monitor that if he's healthy or not, along with if Brian Robinson is going to return or not. But in Week 16, Rodriguez rushed 10 times for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. Be sure to follow the Fantrax socials for more content this week to help you win those championships.